Well, we're getting very close now to the start of the 2019 African Cup of Nations, and it should be another cracking tournament with worldwide stars to look forward to in terms of the action. Warren Ashurst and Tom McGarry alongside me to run you through all of the competition, the group stages of course, and our selection as to who we think will go on and win this. We'll start off with Group A, where the hosts Egypt are involved in that group, and although they didn't finish top of their qualifying group, Tom, they'll clearly be there or thereabouts, you'd think, deep in this tournament.
Yeah, they're the standout team in Group A, aren't they? Full of not quite world-class players, but they do have Mohamed Salah, who is up there as probably one of the top half a dozen players in the world at the moment. Fantastic season with Liverpool, helping them come so close to winning the Premier League, and then of course going on to taste Champions League glory. So if he can be firing on all cylinders like he does for Liverpool, then I can't see Egypt having too many problems in this group. Democratic Republic of Congo probably will be the next best team and will challenge Egypt when those two go head to head. I'd expect them to finish as the top two, but for Egypt, they have a good tradition, don't they, as well, with the Africa Cup of Nations, reached the final a couple of years ago, so I think they could be in for a really good and long tournament.
Yeah, I think as hosts as well, that could play a key role, and as I say, Tom's alluded to there, a lot may rest on the shoulders of Mohamed Salah. Let's look at Group B then now, where I think Nigeria potentially are the standout team here, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been quite impressed by them over recent months since the last World Cup. Odion Igalo was the top scorer in qualifying for the Cup of Nations, 7 goals. He started to score on a regular basis, playing in the Chinese Super League, which isn't necessarily the highest standard of club football, but I think he should be confident. He was in and out of the team at the World Cup 12 months ago, but I think he'll be the star man in this lineup. And as you say, Nigeria, similar to Egypt in Group A, they're the standout big name in this group, and I can't really see them having any problem in qualifying.
No, to go along with that, I think Nigeria should comfortably qualify from Group B. Senegal, who we'll come to in a bit more detail later on, are involved in Group C, and I have to say, they should be, for me, there or thereabouts at the end of the tournament, and can't really see them having too many difficulties in this group.
No, it's an interesting group because they're in there with Algeria, two powerhouses, if you like, of recent Africa Cup of Nations, and I think Senegal should have a too much attacking quality. Sadio Mane, of course, the standout name within their ranks. Algeria, though, will challenge them and probably finish in second place. Kenya and Tanzania as the other two sides in the group. Potentially, third place would be enough for one of them to get through to the knockout stages, but I can't see either of those two sides going any further than that.
Well, Group D for me, Tom, is potentially the toughest group, I think, in the group stages of this year's African Cup of Nations. You've got Morocco, you've got South Africa, and you've got Ivory Coast along with Namibia. I think Namibia may well be the whipping boys here, but you could pick any two from those three.
Yeah, and I think certainly in the case of Ivory Coast and Morocco, they're two sides who will come into this competition believing they can go all the way and win it. Ivory Coast, just a couple of editions ago, did win the tournament. They don't quite have the Didier Drogba's or Yaya Touré's of this world anymore, but Nicolas Pepe is a player in form for his club side, Lille. I think he'll spearhead this Ivory Coast team. And for Morocco, high expectations going into last summer's World Cup, failed to get out of the group. They were the first side actually to be mathematically knocked out of the tournament, so I think they'll have a point to prove. Really good players within their ranks as well, so I think these two sides will both, at the very least, fancy getting to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Morocco need to be far better than they were in Russia last year, but they're certainly capable of that. Looking at Group E, the likes of Mali and also Tunisia are involved in this group as well. Two names that we'll have seen on regular occasions, Tom, in the African Cup of Nations. What are we expecting from this group?
Yeah, Tunisia, I think they'll benefit from the tournament being held in Egypt. Their North African neighbours, they'll be used to the climate there, and they have a lot of players based in big European leagues without having a standout name, a Mohamed Salah or a Sadio Mane within their ranks. They'll be difficult to beat. I don't expect them to be getting through to the semi-final stages or anything like that, but I think they probably are the standout name. Mali, one or two eye-catching names themselves, and have a bit of a tradition in the Cup of Nations, particularly around the turn of the century when there were regular features around the semi-final stage. Again, though, I think this is one of the weaker groups in the tournament, so I can't really see anyone going too deep in the competition.
And last but not least, time to look at Group F now, Tom, and the defending champions are in this group in Cameroon. Do we think that they can potentially defend the title they won before?
I don't think so, in all truth. I think it was a Big surprise, really, that Cameroon won the tournament a couple of years ago. This is not a vintage Cameroon team. There's no Samuel Eto'o leading the line, or characters like Rigobert Song that we've seen in the past. Really big, proven players on the European stage as well. So I think Cameroon probably should be able to get through this group. I think they might play second fiddle to Ghana, another side with a point to prove after they failed to qualify for last year's World Cup. So similar to the previous group of Tunisia and Mali, I think Cameroon and Ghana both should get through, but are they going to go too far in the competition? I do have my doubts.
Yeah, it does look like one of the weaker groups, I have to say, when you consider some of the others that we've got across there, of course. We'll get Tom's thoughts in a second as to who he thinks will go all the way and lift the trophy in this African Cup of Nations. Firstly, my prediction, though, because I really strongly fancy Senegal. I was amazed when researching up on this year's African Cup of Nations that Senegal have never won this tournament before. They were beaten finalists a decade or so ago. They've been in the semi-finals on a few occasions, but I think they have the squad now to be able to go all the way. We mentioned Sadio Mane. He's had a fantastic season, of course, with Liverpool. They've also got a number of other top stars around Europe when you think of the like of Koulibaly, Kouyaté amongst them as well. I do think they've got a strong enough squad that can go all the way in this competition. So watch out for me for Senegal. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn in a lot of ways. I do quite fancy the chances of the Ivory Coast, another side who didn't qualify for last year's World Cup, which was a surprise. They actually missed out to Morocco, the team alongside them in their group this year. So I think with a point to prove, with quality players like Nicolas Pepe, who doesn't just score goals for Lille at club level, he also provides assists. I think they should have the quality to go far. They've been able to leave out a player of the experience and quality of Gervinho from their squad altogether after he's just scored double figures in terms of goals in Serie A with Parma. So that shows the strength in depth they have in particular going forward. I'd have a little shout out towards the host Egypt as well. You can't rule them out with Mo Salah in their ranks. And Nigeria, I think, could be in for a strong tournament. But certainly for me, I think Ivory Coast may well emerge as the team to beat.
Well, it looks like being another enthralling African Cup of Nations, and we look forward to another cracking summer tournament. Make sure, of course, that you have your say on what you think ahead of this tournament on our social media pages, like our Twitter and Facebook pages, and make sure, of course, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel.